I'm Alys Tomlinson and I'm a freelance photographer based currently in North London, and I tend to mix kind of commercial work with personal work, and my personal projects are really the most kind of important projects to me. The idea of showing your work in the National Portrait Gallery is obviously feels like something very special, and it's a great opportunity to meet other photographers, to have your work kind of framed in this wonderfully historic space. So it's always been something that's kind of on my radar. And I started the series this year and thought it was quite fitting, perhaps, that I would enter it into the Portrait Prize. So I have entered before, but this is only the second time I've been successful. And obviously being shortlisted was a great surprise, especially we're all having this kind of tricky time at the moment. So when I found out I was shortlisted, I was extremely excited. The series is called Lost Summer, which I think really encapsulates how a lot of us have been feeling the past few months. And the series really started because I was actually, on a personal note, I was very frustrated that a lot of my work trips had been cancelled. So I was supposed to be going to Italy for a big project, and I was supposed to be going to Belarus for a film I was making, and all that obviously with kind of lockdown and the pandemic situation was either scrapped or on hold. So I was feeling, in my kind of small flat in North London, feeling pretty frustrated that I wasn't really getting out there, and I felt my camera was just sitting there kind of looking at me, kind of gathering dust. And I started thinking, well, maybe it would be nice, because they haven't had anything formal to mark this occasion, if I kind of started contacting young people and teenagers who would have had their proms and seeing if they would be up for me taking a portrait of them. And I do love working in this way. So the images were all taken in a very kind of slow and considered way on a large format film camera in black and white, which is how I kind of love to work at the moment, because I think it gives them this kind of timeless quality and this kind of formality. So first of all, I mean, I've got a couple of friends who've got kids of kind of the right age, so I got in touch with them, and then my netball team were very helpful, because lots of them are a little bit older than me and they've got teenage children. So I started asking them if I could take their photographs. So this was the first one, they were the first two portraits I took for the series. And obviously shooting on film, you never really know what the outcome is going to be, because I don't do Polaroids, because the Polaroid film is so expensive now and it's hard to get. So I have to very kind of carefully set up the camera, quite meticulously compose the shot. And I look through on a loop on the ground glass to see what I'm getting. But I never know until I get the contact sheets back exactly turned out. And I generally, for these kind of prom portraits, I did around 4 shots per person. So you haven't got like that many opportunities to get a good shot, and then I obviously selected the one that I thought was the strongest. But I like this as well, the kind of the trees almost, or the leaves kind of almost drooping in the background. You can see the wall, the outline of the wall, but I also wanted the figures to kind of jump out at you almost. So there's this quite powerful presence in terms of the portraits, but they're also, you can tell that they're not in a kind of prom location, they're actually in their back gardens or backyards or local parks. So when I got this back, I was I thought I saw potential in the project. This is Jamila. So I kind of got to know all the teenagers, but in a relatively fleeting way. But I got a good sense, I think, of their character when I was with them. Jamila, I just thought, had this beautiful kind of vulnerability, but also this strength to her. And she was wearing this very kind of elegant satin dress. And it's interesting when I work with the people I photograph, because I don't tend to kind of direct them. So I'll often think of the locations, or I'll spot locations. And I wanted there to be this almost merging of their own worlds, but also the outside world. So the kind of the nature and the surroundings in this kind of lost summer. Samuel, he's just so sweet. And I just love his style as well. So I didn't direct, in terms of the portraits, I didn't tell any of them what to wear. And I also actually didn't know what any of these teenagers were going to look like. So I didn't do any kind of casting or scouting. Often one led to another. So very sure that I didn't want to have to dictate the way they should look or act or their poise. So I felt it was very much about the individual. So I didn't know, what Samuel was going to wear. But when he turns up in this fantastic kind of oversized bow tie, I just asked him to kind of stand still. And you have to be quite patient as well working in this way. So I have to be patient, and the sitter needs to be patient. And I think using this camera, it really in some ways shifts the relationship you have with the sitter. So it's very different from a quick snap, because you have to take your time and be very kind of careful about settings and everything. And a lot of the teenagers actually really enjoyed, I think, learning about the process as well using this camera, because they hadn't really seen a camera like this before. It's quite a performance. I have to kind of put a cloak over my head and I have a loop. So they enjoyed that aspect of it. And I think, and I hope that it also made them, you know, kind of feel special for this small amount of time, because they otherwise they wouldn't have really had any opportunity to dress up, to be photographed in this way. And I made sure that I also gave prints to everyone I photographed, which I hope is something that they'll keep and that they will remember. You know, I associate being a teenager often with being completely awkward and self-conscious and not wanting to have your picture taken, but actually there was something about, I think they really kind of took control of their own images and their own photographs, which I really liked. I think with the Lost Summer you also notice, you see the image initially and then you start noticing little details that, like Jamila's had her nails done for the picture. You know, when you start looking closely, you see kind of different elements to the picture that you wouldn't necessarily have spotted first of all. And in some ways a lot of the girls are very dressed up, but then I was also surprised that they, you know, barely wore any makeup, for instance. So you've got this, in one sense they're kind of quite relaxed, and then in another sense they really enjoyed putting on something special for this particular portrait.